Hello everyone. In today's presentation we will talk about compensation and benefits concerning human resource management. We're talking from the group Fire Up Consulting. Our team members are Nicole, Linares, Seth Campbell, Nick Garcia, Breann Patterson and Jeremy Moser. So first up, to introduce you to our topic, the PAC is facing many challenges within its company that have came about due to the changes in today's business climate. This presentation will mainly focus on the human resource department, especially on the compensation and benefits of employees. Also, our presentation will include proposals on how to solve certain challenges the PAC is facing within the department. So first up, we just want to do a little SWOT analysis of the company. We discovered that strengths are the market niche, so basically the company finds itself in a market niche. Secondly, the products are still made in the United States while everyone else is kind of outsourced and has gone offshore already, which kind of gives us a marketing advantage because people start to look to buy products that are bought in the United States. Thirdly, we have the Talk to the Boss program, which basically shows the organization how you could improve managerial issues, allowing managers to gain feedback on their leading qualities and improving them. And lastly, we have patents on specialty components, which is a huge strength for our company. Then opportunities for the pack company are the European markets are being explored, so that means you could take it outside of the United States and therefore could lead to an expanding customer base. And also secondly, we have the Six Sigma Lean and Kaizen opportunities for improvements within the companies, which could lead to a positive impact that we could cut down costs long term. Now we also want to highlight some weaknesses or threats for the company we were looking at, which in the first place is a high dependence on one particular customer. So basically one big customer creates 83% of the total revenue, and therefore there's a strong dependence on that one customer, which normally companies try to avoid, because if that one company faces like financial or business challenges, it could have a huge impact on the company's business. Secondly, a weakness could be pure management, because there's the inconsistent policy enforcement. There's also the weakness of unfair job placement, what we will talk about later, and also favoritism, used often amongst employees, which means some employees have the same education and do the same work as others, but due to their appearance or the way they behave, they get favoritized by management. Lastly, the company is not experienced in downsizing at all, which could lead to problems in the future. Now, talking about threats, which could become like problems in the future, at the minute there's a threat of employees discussing unionization, which could have like detrimental impact if they actually do that and go against a company. Now, we talked about a dependence on a particular customer. The problem with that is that the companies found out that the main customer sales have been decreasing. So basically, they have to reduce the amount of work they give to Pack, which means there's labor cutbacks at Pack company. Then, second to last, we have the problem of an eroding economy and an economic downturn, which means in general, sales are decreasing, leading to the fact that the company will probably have to make cuts themselves, whether it's with resources or whether it's with labor. We'll talk about that. And then lastly, there are potential lawsuits from cases that are currently being researched, so therefore that's one thing to watch. Now, we talk about benefits of the compensation, and we did SWOT analysis about that. So we have a strength about that because in their compensation program, basically, you get a strong vacation. So that's 10 days of paid holidays, and you get one sick day. Additionally, you get 12 hours per month worked, and we have a certain program that allows certain benefits and compensations to well-working employees. Also, there are health insurance benefits for all of our employees, depending on their stage and level. Benefits can vary. And every 3 years, we'll refer that later on, They have a certain salary survey, which means they can increase or decrease salaries, looking at employees what they think is should be accurate. Now, opportunities for the compensation and benefits department, they could create job performance bonuses. The management department could do that. On to even like the reason for that could be to outload or even out the workload and also solve the discrepancies they currently have in their bonus plans. Also, they could set new salary scale based off of certification, skills, and education. And lastly, a huge opportunity which is coming with the general technological advancements is to invest some time and like in general probably money into technological advancement following the compensation and benefits. Now the weaknesses of the compensation and benefits are on the one side the inconsistent organization policy, that's kind of related with the favoritism, concerning the distribution of benefits amongst different departments. Secondly, recently the company cut the tuition reimbursement program, which caused a few problems, which we'll come back later to. And so cutting that tuition reimbursement program was not the best move. And lastly, work is being passed off most often to subordinates who are not rewarded enough through the bonuses for the additional work or the general work they do, which is basically more than they're qualified for almost. So basically what the weakness is that the bonus program is not correctly implemented at the minute. Then lastly, threats for the compensation and bonus program is that Amy Alvarez, as an example, has been denied her tuition reimbursement, but at the same time her colleague Tom Schneider has been approved, and she's threatening a lawsuit because she thinks there's employee discrimination or unfair treatment. We will talk about that more in depth as it is a very important topic, and as we just said, the company is trying to avoid certain lawsuits which are bad for the public relations. Secondly, the economic downturn has caused a salary freeze, which shouldn't happen, but the company needs to consider and explore different options. And lastly, considering axing non-smoking program to decrease health insurance cost is one threat the company might face. Now, we want to talk about broad banding, which is basically the salary structure that lowers the amount of salary and ranges and groups many similar jobs together in a certain salary bound. Our personal opinion to that topic was that we think the broad banding itself should be terminated. Now you might ask yourself why. The reason for that is that we think that broad banding leads to a lack of promotion and also decreases the opportunity for an employee to climb the organizational ladder, which basically is the foundation of the American dream and probably of every employee's motivation to show up to work and do good work every day. Secondly, managers need to be better aware of and also interpret market pay data better, which broad banding is not really supporting. Well, only a few companies, which most likely are very outdated, use the broad banding method, though recent trends have shown that broad banding's time is pretty much over, which is why we think that Pack company should definitely terminate its broad banding process. Also, job analysis and evaluation will not be as precise with the broad banding thing, which is why we think a new system should be implemented. And lastly, the broad banding system basically leads to employees being less motivated and also kind of decreasing the morale of every single employee. So next up, another issue we need to talk about, bonus system. So in this question we get asked by the company, we said that at the moment the pack bonus system is not performing up to its level, which is why the system needs to be either revised or just taken and improved. So first of all, the present bonus system should be discontinued, which means there needs to be a new system, because at the minute people who are favored at the minute actually do not do their own work. So basically, the ones who do not work, or the ones who do the work, which are usually the subordinates, are not getting compensated accurately or at all. Secondly, the system is not very consistent. So, for example, Culbertson's compensation and benefit staff, they set their own goals, which is pretty easy to achieve. Everyone else's goals are set by Harris with no input, which means basically that one department can just set its own goal, can make it very low, achieve it quite easily, and then get bonuses, while every other department has strict goals set for them by Harris, which makes it harder to achieve and therefore it's way harder to get bonuses. Now, also throughout the organization at the minute, there's a problem that people perceive there's an inequity concerning the bonus system, and that not every employee is rewarded the same based on the same scale, which is a big problem as it can lead to unionization. Lastly, the current system is not very motivating to improve the performance, but rather through the favoritism and the inconsistent bonus system distribution, it's very discouraging. So, about motivation and rewards. So, basically, we said about the bonuses system, there should be a new program implemented. Basically, goals shouldn't be implemented or set by employees, it should be set by managers and set in a smart way. So basically, the goal should be smart, which means specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Second of all, there should be a certain reward system, which should be fair and consistent throughout the whole organization and not depending by every department. And secondly, there shouldn't be no more rewards given to certain employees, which are the favorites of a manager based on what they are do or how they behave. And secondly, for this system, we think that the bonus scale should be developed and implemented in a way that it's very specific to each department and position. So this means that you basically say, for this team, this is what they need to do in order to gain a bonus, whereas another team might have the other competencies or other challenges they face which they need to overcome, because amongst the department, challenges and opportunities are very different, which is why rewards should be balanced differently, yet they should be equally challenging. So talking about a reward system, basically, first of all, it should provide direction so people know what to do. It should define what will be rewarded, so basically which behaviors or which actions, which results will follow up by a reward. Third, they should provide clarity so the employee can set smart goals or knows, okay, this is a smart goal, this is what I need to do. Fourth of all, they should have various rewards, so not just have, okay, if you achieve this goal, you're going to get a monetary reward. They should maybe set a goal, whoever achieves this gets like a week of paid holidays, or just set other different goals. Also, it's important that such a system makes the employees feel appreciated, because most of the times people are looking for appreciation, or they look for thankfulness or gratefulness for their work, which motivates them to work especially hard. And lastly, of course, we need to take a look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is very important because meeting an employee's need basically helps him to satisfy a need, to be happy, which most often leads to a very high job satisfaction and improved motivation. When a bonus system is discontinued. First of all, a discontinued bonus system lowers productivity. Well, it kind of reduces an employee morale and it erodes trust, which means the employees don't really know if an organization will stick to their commitments or not, which is why it's important to not only discontinue it, but come up with a new reward system. Next up, we will talk about the survey we had about the salaries. So basically the question is how you conduct a salary survey, which elements are need to be included in a salary survey, and what's important when forming and evaluating. So to develop a company's compensation guideline, you need to have a salary survey, because the survey will give you impacts that allow you to create a good guideline for a company's compensations. For a salary survey, you should have an initiate job analysis, analyze the job, what's a part of it, and therefore create questions. Also create job departments and put job description with the respective department that it belongs to. For a salary survey, should also make a hierarchy of the positions and place them in order from highest ranking to the lowest ranking in order to give a little hierarchy or just show which are the next steps in your career, basically. A salary survey should gather research from not only the marketplace on salaries but also from within the company, because you want to properly compensate each position, and basically also with your competitors you don't want to offer way lower price or also not way higher prices than other people, so either people abuse you or people leave because you don't pay enough. Now, a salary survey should also group together positions that have similar pay grades, allowing for lower discrepancies, which will not lead to favoritism. Because if jobs have or positions have similar pay grades, yet they get paid differently, there's an easy way to say, oh, I pretty much do the same work, yet this other person gets paid more, which is important to kind of group them together. Lastly, every salary survey should develop a salary range that are built from the market research, which was obtained before. Then you also decide and review what to do with the salaries, well, especially with the ones that are not within the range that you developed. And then, to finalize, use the salary survey to update positions and salary compensated due to the market change and based on your market research. Case where we had a wrongful termination. So we have an FMLA employee who was accidentally terminated. So had a huge impact on her life because her benefits got cut, no payments came through, and she was on holidays, so she couldn't realize it. So basically, what should the pack do? So basically, if in the first place, they should schedule a meeting with Tracy Peters and the new HR director to discuss the issue and her position within the company. It's very important to offer reinstatement of employment and benefits to Mrs. Peter. So we need to think about how to reinstate. But also, if Mrs. Peters does not want to be reinstated, try to come to a monetary settlement instead of going to court. So because you want to avoid a lawsuit, as it always draws negative publicity. You can also write a letter of recommendation for future employment opportunities to allow her to advance in her career if she wants to go to another firm. Now, you could also go and compensate her for the time off that was not paid out, because technically she still was an employee at your firm, even though she technically was fired, which was wrongful and an accident. Now, you should also have an option of having the new HR director and the owners speak to a lawyer for direction, because most often a wrongful termination is not a very simple topic, and therefore having a lawyer that gives you not only financial but also law or court advice can be very helpful. And lastly, you should put in place a general policy, not only for now but only for the future, on rehiring terminated employees to avoid similar cases in the future and basically be prepared for upcoming challenges. So, talking about the PTO plan, which needs to include vacation and also sick leave systems. We need to take these systems and basically put them into one. So about the PTO waiting period, we said that all new and rehired team members have a waiting period of 60 days for the PTO benefits that are offered. Now, during this waiting period, new members are eligible for benefits that are required by law, such as workers' compensation, insurance, and social security. Now, after the waiting period, new members who work full-time, which means minimum 40 hours a week, are eligible for all benefits that are offered by PAC. And at the same time, we obviously need to make a distinction. Part-time employees will only receive 24 hours of sick leave every year in compliance with the state law. Now, the rules for the PTO plan are as follows. Paid time must be used in minimum increments of 1 hour. PTO hours will begin to accumulate once a full-time employee is hired, but cannot be used until after the 60-day waiting period. Once a team member reaches the maximum amount, you cannot accrue any more PTO until their balance falls below the maximum amount. Also, PTO will not be paid out until submitted and approved by the supervisor. The employee will, though, receive their payments 2 weeks after their approval. Lastly, terminated employees will not receive payments for an unused PTO. It's important also to talk about the PTO accrual specifications. So basically said, the length of service can be a first, second, or fifth year. In the first year, the accrual rate would be 1.54 with an annual accrual of 5 days and the maximum accrual of 60 hours. In the second year, your accrual rate is a 308. There's no annual accrual, but a maximum accrual of 120 hours, which is double as much as in the first year, which kind of makes sense. And then in your fifth year, or from your fifth year on, your accrual rate is 4.62, leaving you with an annual accrual of 15 days. What are the advantages of the PTO, or what are the PTO policy rollovers? For current employees, any PTO that has been accumulated and not used will be rolled over for the new PTO policy, as long as it is in accordance with the new PTO accrual specifications, which we just talked about. Basically, you cannot exceed the maximum allowance. For all employees, any used PTO will now be rolled over every year in accordance with the maximum allowance specifications. PTO can now be used for any paid time off request, whether it will be a personal day, vacation, sick time, or any unforeseeable events. The new PTO plan is more accommodating and flexible to employee situations, also more flexible to their needs and any emergencies that may arise due to unforeseen circumstances. And lastly, the only thing that does not roll over is the part-time employee's sick leave. Lastly, for our presentation, we just want to appreciate your time for listening to us. We would like to thank you for taking in our consulting and just leave you with our references. Thank you very much.